money I'm stacking, why they rock diamonds? I can't relate to them, ain't much in common. I set a goal for me, 2 or 3 commas. 7 figures, 8 figures to 9 figures. On a slow pace to get rich quick. Same time, we just think different. Cause when you make it, it hit different.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another show, NWA Cane Corsos, where we talk all things dog. Glad everybody's back with another guest, our brother Alex Vaccaro Bull Presa. Yes, sir. Alex, where are you from?
I originally immigrated to Canada from Poland in 1990 when I was just a young buck. And I live here in Canada, in Ontario. To put into perspective from those of you who are listening in the United States, I'm about 8 hours north of Central Park in New York there.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, how long have you been? When did you recognize your first love for dogs in general?
Oh man, from the time I was a young child, I was one of those weirdos who just had a better connection with dogs than with people. And when I was even a young buck, I would go out, I would play soccer with my friends, I would do the sports, but then after it was time for me to go into nature, I would sometimes go into the forest by myself for a long time when I was a little kid, and I would usually have my dog with me. I spent a lot of time with dogs when I was younger. We had what you would refer to in North America as working line dash hounds.
Okay.
In Europe, there is back then, under communism, there was not really much of this show lines. If a dog didn't work, we had a different mentality, if you understand. So, so we had some dash hounds and ferocious little creatures. I'll tell you, they will dig up a mole nest and kill every mole in that nest within minutes. They have a great scent. And we had the real European standard Great Danes.
What was the difference in those Great Danes compared to what you see now?
Well, I am not, I don't want to speak too much about it because I understand there's a European standard, North American standard.
Oh yeah.
I can only say what I see, what I experience as a European immigrant when I come to North America. The Great Danes here are much taller and they are much sleeker. They are less Mastiff-like than the ones we had in Europe. And the European ones are thicker, wider, heavy boned, I would say. Mm-hmm. And also, I have to say that in Europe, they are not friendly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was a little child when my parents had these dogs, but I know that they had live bites because we had them for the shop and the construction sites. My parents had some shop and so on and a construction site, and that's where the dogs were. And I remember that one of the dog had live bites because he was stabbed and he got his leg cut up. And so they are not friendly like the ones here, and a little bit shorter, thicker, wider, stockier. It was known that it is a responsibility to have a Great Dane. Mm-hmm. Like even when I was a young buck, I remember, my parents telling me, like, this dog cannot be on the couch. They cannot think they're your equal because something can happen bad to you.
Right. And that's what this channel is about, to tell the truth on the dogs and tell how there has been a watering down process on some of these dogs. And so doing your research is key, especially with the breeder. Being that you grew up with these type of dogs, strong-willed, tough dogs, is that what gravitated you to the Presa? And if so, what gravitated you to the Presa and when?
Well, what gravitated me to the Presa is when I was 18 years old, I ended up getting a job at a pet store. And this is when I started to train dogs just on a part-time basis. And I remember back in the day, I don't know if you remember, there was a magazine. I assume it's out of business now, like most magazines, because of on the internet. It was called, I think, World Dog Magazine.
Mm-hmm.
Something thick. It was coming out once a year. It was like a small yellow page. It was a thick magazine. And I remember going through this magazine, and I see this picture of this dog. It was on something sandy, I think a beach or something like this. It was a fawn. And I said, oh my goodness, this dog is like a pit bull on steroids. I said, I was so taken aback, and I've seen Corsos and Rottweilers and so on. I've seen all these dogs, but I've never seen a Presa. I said, oh my goodness, what is this dog? And I called the breeder in the States, and it was $7,000 US back then.
Wow.
This is 1998.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, I'm in college right now, and this is not going to be happening with a part-time job.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up getting my first pit bull. And that dog, she lived until she was about 8.5 years old. She passed away from a tumor.
Mm-hmm.
And my goal, I was going to start breeding pit bulls. I've always loved dogs. I've always been attracted to powerful dogs. And this was the late 1990s, 2000s. So this is when the Chevy Red Dog was around,
Mm-hmm.
Whooper, those lines, like they were coming out with Razor's Edge, Gotti, those bigger, thicker Camelots, the bigger, thicker lines for the weight pulling. Right,
Mm-hmm.
Bully was not started yet, but it was the bigger pit bull was already around. And this is what I was going to do. And unfortunately, what ended up happening is that we had a guy here in Canada. We have provinces. In the US, you have states. So in our province, we had a prime, it's like our version of the governor. And the first moment this guy came into power, as a political movement to appease all the hysterical people, they banned pit bulls in the province. On top of that, the way they wrote the ban is that any dog that fits the description of a pit bull falls within the ban. Well, so, if you are crazy, Cane Corso fits in the description of the pit bull. They literally wrote the law in such a way where a dog that's imposing, muscular, with a square head, like this type of wording. I said, you can say that a lab is a pit bull then,
That's
because
how they
some
write
labs
them.
have a giant
That's how they
head.
write them. Yeah. Yep. That's how they do it nowadays.
Yeah. So, and back then there was no embark. Because today, and not everybody had papers. Right. So, people were on the news, people were hiring lawyers because, some people had their Cane Corsos. Some crazy person was trying to confiscate the Cane Corso. You get the wrong type of a Karen as a neighbor, and, you got some power tripping bylaw officer showing up.
Yeah.
So that's what happens. So I did not start to breed the pit bull. And the whole thing was put on hold. I had a very good career with the government and law enforcement. And, I trained the dogs part-time just for fun. And eventually that dog passed away. I adopted another one. And it was actually the oldest pit bull in the province of Ontario. That was before the ban. So they were killing dogs left, right, and center in this province. And the dirty little secret is that these SPCA organizations here, the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, they were sending some of the pit bulls that didn't kill to medical experiments.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah, medical experiments. So, but they were not able to touch the dog that was born before the ban came in.
Gotcha.
So in 2013, I accidentally saw this advertisement for this dog, He was 13 and a half or 14 and a half years old.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the last legal pit bulls in the province of Ontario. And I remember I went to the people's house, and there was like three other dogs there. And the guy goes, yeah, he's just older. He's not having a good time. They're picking on him. And he just looked at me and he was like, I could just tell. He's like, please take me home. Please take me away from it. And
Right.
I couldn't believe it. I said, okay, I will get him. And I remember like one of the kids was there, and then she just like waves to him, okay, bye. And like no emotion. I was like, what kind of people are these, man? If somebody would try to take my dog away when I was a kid, especially after that dog lived with me my whole life, because that kid wasn't 14, it was maybe 7, still
Right.
gone berserk.
Right.
So I took him home, and they had him on pedigree or whatever. I think it was pedigree or something. The first ingredient was corn.
Mm-hmm.
The first ingredient wasn't chicken byproduct. The first ingredient in the food was literally corn. And I'm like, how did this dog make it to 14?
Wow.
Eating food. So
Yeah.
I went to my doctor. He got sick right away. He was having some stomach issues. So went to my doctor and we put him on some very expensive food, single ingredient made out of kangaroo.
Okay.
And he came back to life. And he lived for about a year. And then one day he went to get up. And when I went to pet him, he yelped. He couldn't really lift his head. I went to the doctor, and the doctor said he's so old. He has arthritis in the vertebrae, and the discs are starting to slip. Those at this age, he goes, he has like a pinch disc, basically.
Right.
So, he was basically 15 years old.
Right.
And, I'm not going to torture a dog
Yeah.
for my own entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not that person, and I have no respect for those people.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like to see dogs suffering.
Prolong the dog wants to die, and they're keeping him alive.
Mm-hmm.
Force feeding the dog. If the dog stops eating and it's going into the corner, the dog wants to die.
Yeah.
Either let it die or put it to sleep, but
Right.
don't force feed the dog and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Right.
So I had to let him go. We put him down, and man, I was so distraught. My doctor didn't want me to leave the office. He's like, I don't think you should drive.
Right.
And I said, okay, I'm going to get into, I remember the Presa Canario, and I didn't want to deal with any bylaw. At this point, the bylaw situation changed in regards to, it's not that, I don't remember that embark was around yet, but basically, if you have papers for the dog, they leave you alone. Okay. So that was the important thing. If you buy a Corso or a Presa or anything else, Dog Argentino, you gotta have the UKC, CKC, FCI, whatever papers. So that's how I ended up getting getting the first Presa Canario.
Right, right. What unique characteristics is it about the Presa that most people wouldn't know?
That most people wouldn't know?
Right. Or should know.
Or should know.
Yeah, that's a better question.
No matter if it's show line or working line, or maybe I should say more correct, if it's Presa Canario or Dogo Canario.
Okay.
They are stubborn. They are stubborn to the point of it's a comedy. It is a comedy. They will and I'm not one of these people, the dog is dominant, the dog is going to eat me. No, but they will always try to test. Like children, they go for that phase where they test.
Yeah.
This Presa Canario is like this. They know that they're not allowed. I open the crate, but they know they're not allowed to come out of the crate.
It's like dealing with a teenager.
Once in a while, they like to put the foot on the floor just to see what happens. And if you don't address it, then it's 2 feet on the floor. And then, they're looking at you. What? I don't do anything. It's a comedy, I tell you. Right. So this is the one thing. They're very stubborn. And that stubbornness can get inexperienced owners into a problem.
Right. Gotcha.
So
how long have you been in the breed with the Presa now?
Well, my first Presa I got in 2016.
16. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Let me I want to get into some other things about you've been breeding a dog a long time now. Understanding dog breeding. I'm pretty sure you see guys that's coming up, maybe younger guys or maybe older guys just coming in, dealing with the Presa, trying to breed them, maybe not putting out the best kind of Presa they can because maybe they was money driven or something at first. What are the biggest misconceptions you see in new breeders, the biggest mistakes that they make?
Well, you see, you go on my Instagram, litter C was a big litter. I had 12. And you say, oh, 2,500, 3,500, whatever average price that people people think that the dogs are going for. Wow, let's say 2.5. Well, 12 times 2.5, right? Oh, 28 grand.
Yeah.
Or, 12 times 3, 36,000. Oh man.
Right.
I get 2 of these dogs. Even their idea, they come up, I'll breed them back to back for 4 years straight. And they're sitting there calculating. Next thing you know, they're retiring. they're buying the Bitcoin. They're gonna outdo Zuckerberg.
Yeah.
But and this is I'm not making this up. This is true. You don't know about the time when I had a female. She was having her second litter. She started to spot. I see a little bit of red. So I said, okay, we're going to emergency. She was literally 36 hours away from a scheduled C-section. I get to emergency. This is COVID. So we'll talk about bringing Presas into the vet.
Okay.
As for those of you who want the fire, the dog that nobody can touch. Okay. So now it's COVID. I'm not allowed inside. They're like, it's okay. We'll give her some trazectazone. I'm like, oh God. Yeah. They sent out this little girl that's 120 pounds with a leash made of like it's like a plastic rope almost. Like just holding it, it's cutting my hand. I'm like, you don't understand. If this dog loses it, what will happen here? But right. Anyways, that's beyond the point. So I get to emergency. And here it is, $5,500 for an emergency C-section.
Yeah.
They did not do blood transfusion, but that would have been an extra $750 a bag. Puppy care was another $750. So let's keep track now. We're at basically $6,200, $50. Okay. Out of a litter of 12, 4 lived. They resuscitated 4. 1 died later. So now we have 3. So 5.5, $6,250 plus $4,000 stud fee. Okay, so we're what, $10,250 plus care for the puppies, right? Now we are at, let's say, $11,000. The mother is stressed. She's not producing milk. I'm awake for 3 weeks, bottle feeding.
Bottle feeding.
You've
Wow.
been for bottle feeding. You know what that's all
Yeah.
about, especially
Uh-huh.
the first week, every 2 hours.
Yep.
After that, it's every 3 hours. I didn't know what planet I was on. And then, yeah, so, you know, oh yes, and then I lost the mother because her uterus is broken now. So they don't even do a spade. They call it, I think, a hysterectomy. They just take everything out.
Everything. Yeah.
Okay, so the mother with shipping from Europe was $4,500 and 2 years to raise her. So it's not what people think.
Do the math on that. Yeah. Do all the math
It's
on
not
that.
what people think.
Yeah.
Or you don't know about, you know, they're sitting there calculating, oh my God, 12 times 3, 36,000. Oh, yes. But you don't know about the time when I sent 5G to Europe. I had semen shipped, frozen semen, progesterone tests. I'm driving to the doctor, to the vet, for the repo clinic, for the progesterone testing. Okay, we're cutting her open. They cut her open because, you know, they cannot defrost the semen before that. So now she's open. The vet calls me. Well, you have 6 straws, but the semen appears to be 95% dead. So do you want us to use all 6? Yeah, of course. I mean, let's at least have a chance. Yeah. Whatever it was, 28 days later or whatever, I take her for the blood work. She's not pregnant. Oops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that opening her up, the progesterone test, everything else, it's like $8,000.
Right.
So, you know, this is, you know, what I can say is that, look, number one, if you want to do this to make money, you're money motivated. And I don't advocate this, but I think that the backyard breeder has bigger chances of making money than people who are trying to do things like import semen from Europe and truly get the best and so on, especially when you're starting out and you don't really know, you know, how to put it all together.
Right.
You know? So if you're money motivated, that's number one. And number two, if you're money motivated, you know what? Get yourself a miniature poodle, a miniature schnauzer, and because there's always a market for the dog.
Right.
You don't have people calling you. So like, is the dog going to kill? Like, you know, if somebody comes into my house, like, I'm not telling you that over the phone. I'm not selling you a liability.
Right. Right.
You know. You avoid the idiots. You avoid this. Just get some small dogs and have fun.
That's right.
If you're going to be doing, if you want to breed Corsos, Bullies, you know, stuff like this, Presas, German Shepherds, if you want to be dealing with frozen semen, there's all these things. There's a lot of things that can go wrong.
Plenty of things. Yeah.
Don't be sitting here and counting money.
Right.
You know, that's what I say to the young people.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's something like the C-sections and the shipping in semen. People don't talk about that, and there's a lot of things depend on the vet. I had to have emergency C-section one time a few years back, and I went to a vet that was anti-breeder, emergency vet. They said, well, if we do the C-section, guess what? She gonna be done having babies. That's the only way we'll do it. You know what I mean? Yeah, they was gonna fix. Yeah, some of the vets are like that. You know, so yeah, it's a lot of kennel accidents. Anything can happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just anything can happen.
People are completely oblivious. Like, you know, I see sometimes, you know, like a video and there's like 4 or 5 presses together. And, you know, oh yeah, we live in peace and harmony. I'm the alpha. Yeah. Until or not.
Right. Right.
You know, like my male, my female can be in the yard together. My females cannot even see each other. And people don't understand. A dog will be on a decoy, and when you pull the dog off, sometimes the dog redirects.
Yeah.
It happens all the time. The dogs redirect. Or if the dog is in a wild boar, the dog gets pissed off and redirects.
Right. Right.
What do you think happens when you're going to be breaking up a dog fight? Sometimes,
Right.
especially if you're alone,
Mm-hmm.
you start to break up the dog fight, both dogs can turn on you. People have died. This isn't a joke. People have had permanent disabilities, life-altering health problems, you
Mm-hmm.
know, cosmetic surgery. This isn't, this isn't a joke. And even like with my male and female being in the yard where my chickens are, I have a 6 foot tall fence around them. But even then, I've had a chicken jump that fence. And now there's 2 dogs and 1 chicken.
Yeah.
So things can always go wrong. And that's what we mean kennel accidents, Things can always, it's not that we want things to go wrong, but they can go wrong. And then you got to know how to deal with them.
Yeah.
Like, for example, every one of my dogs, like my females, are always in a harness.
Yeah.
I have leashes throughout my property.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that if something happens with my male, I'm not going to be in there. Like, people are completely oblivious to how to separate a dog fight.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're going to get in between 2 dogs? You think you're going to throw water on them?
No.
I recently had a situation where I was hiking, okay, just by my house. So I guess just going for a walk, more correct. And I guess maybe a deer got hit by a car, and there's a coyote den here. And literally, I'm on a 400-acre property owned by my neighbor, and it's usually hay or soy. So it's just flat in the winter. And right in the middle of this property, I see my female picks up. Looked to me like a femur bone. It was still bloody. It was frozen already, but it was still red
Mm-hmm.
from this deer. The coyotes must have just left it behind.
Mm.
And now she's standing there with my male.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
But I know how to handle it. I also know that once the dogs have a certain energy between them, you don't use an e-collar. You'll actually make things worse.
Mm.
Because then they start to think that he did it.
Right.
Not me. I mean, the male, or she did it.
Yeah.
So
they try to figure out where that lightning bolt come from. It was you.
yeah. Like I was talking to somebody, and when their dog is on a wild boar and they refuse to out, if they get hit with the e-collar, they will go even harder.
Mm.
So you have to know. I was able to manage the situation just fine, but like, things can happen. And that's why my females are always in a harness. I have these leashes. And, if things start to go south, I will just grab both of them once they lock.
Mm-hmm.
That's the key, not when they're starting.
Right.
Leash the female, and then I can work from there.
Right.
That's what happens when you're by yourself. But, this isn't a joke. These dogs are not a joke.
Right.
People think they're a joke. We just had, in the past 1 year, we had 2 children in the province or state, as you would call it, here die.
Mm-hmm.
They died. 2 Corsos, and I don't remember what the other dogs were. And then one boy was like critical condition. Like, this kid is going to be having surgery after surgery.
Mm. Yeah.
So, it's people don't realize this, and they have unrealistic expectations. A lot of people, when they start, they don't understand the concept of housing.
Mm-hmm.
How they don't know what a male will do to get into a female with heat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was talking to one of my clients, and they have a very large property, and they have 2 houses on there. And it was a compliment for me because they have a bungalow of a raised basement. So the window is about 10 feet off the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And this male's from litter C that is very athletic. And she said that the dog, it was summertime, the female was in heat, or springtime, female was in heat. And he pushed the screen and he jumped 10 feet. He jumped the window.
Wow.
And went to the other house.
Ooh. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think, I'm glad you said this because I don't think people talk about this a lot on my channel. When females go in heat, it changes the whole yard, even the other females.
Yeah, they'll kill each other. The two females, even if they get along, they won't be getting along in heat.
Right.
They won't be getting along in heat. And you're a male, like, people don't realize, like, there's some males, oh, I'll just put him in a different room.
Mm-hmm.
Different room. Your dog will eat through your wall to get to the female if he's that type of a male.
If he's that type, yeah, sure
You
will.
know, if he's not type. My male isn't. He's just like, he'll just sit here and basically he'll be like this.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? I have PTSD because of the law enforcement, so I can phase things out. But like my girlfriend will be, how do you stand this for 2 weeks? He will cry nonstop and he'll lose like 30 pounds.
Yep, won't eat. Yeah, won't eat.
He won't eat, right? And
Yep.
he'll lose, like, literally, he'll go from like 165, 170. I think last time he was like 140 by the time it was done. And like all the time, he makes this little whining noise.
Yep.
But for me, I don't hear that because of my condition. But like, you know, if you know, but like people, that's the way he is. But, you know, some people don't realize that your male will eat your wall. And for me, it doesn't matter. I live out in the country. I mean, I have a 3,000 square foot barn. For me, you know, if I need a kennel, like, you know, you get some, you know, construction fencing, the 6 feet temporary construction fencing. I just build a temporary kennel and they're outside. Like, this isn't an issue for me because I have the space.
Right.
But you have people, you know, they're trying to breed dogs and they live inside a city in a townhouse. Their yard is the size of our living rooms. Like, you're out in the country, but you know, like the new townhouses inside these cities, literally, I know people have a yard like, you know, 30 feet by 15.
Yeah.
That's my living room.
Right. Yeah.
It's the downstairs of where I have my TV.
Yeah.
You know,
it's kind
so people just don't think about what this is all about, you know, or like they want to have puppies, but they don't realize that these puppies start making noise. And there's different litters. I've had litter C. Man, these things were like little T-Rexes. My hands, it looks like you took a cheese grater to them. These, from the time they were 4 weeks old, they were super mouthy.
Right.
Where this litter, I can put my hand inside the crate, nothing is happening. So different litters have different vibes, different personalities.
That's true.
You know, like if you have a litter, like if you have, I've had certain litters, if you would be in a townhouse and you would have neighbors, there's no way nobody would be calling bylaw.
Right.
The level of noise they're making is crazy.
It is. It's very loud. Very loud. I don't know if you can hear some of them I got out here now. I can hear them. They're out there right now. Yeah. So people don't know about these things, and even some of the breed specific things as far as health we face. Like we got to be careful with the lines we get. Like before we got on, we was talking about epilepsy and the boxer being added into breeds and things like that. You know, you just got to know these things. You know.
Yeah. I've had you know, what I would say is that because you had can I mention some people you had on your show?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not bashing other kennels. I'm just mentioning so people
it's all good. Yeah.
Who are watching. So if you are watching this, I would strongly recommend you watch the couple of the episodes that you had with Michael Morales.
Oh,
and
yeah.
you also go on his YouTube channel. Very knowledgeable breeder. And also the gentleman from the Sentinel, I think it's called Sentinel Kennel. He does band dogs.
Lee Robinson. Yep.
Yes.
Mhm.
And your cousin there with the Corsos also.
Lamont Lapatenza. Yeah.
Yes.
Mhm.
So, people don't realize the complexity of what happens, and that the problem is that you can have 2 or 3 generations ago some kind of a problem, and that can come out in your genetic.
Mhm.
And it can be very detrimental. So I had a situation, I'm open about this. I had a situation where I imported a female, and the dog was, if you're into size and thickness, and a lot of people are into that, have presses, they won't admit it,
Yeah.
but they like the show, not the goal.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with that. Just admit it,
Yeah.
and that's it. Okay, and and I know because at that point I had 2 females. One of them, her sister was doing wild boar hunting in Europe, and that female was crazy. She would jump like my whole staircase at once. She was super athletic. I would post her picture. She would get half of the likes that the other female would get. The other female would get tired killing a chicken. But the people don't care.
Right. They want the
Because the
size.
majority of people is not going to go wild boar hunting. The
Right.
majority of people doesn't want a dog. They're going to go and drop $20,000 for protection training.
Mhm.
The majority of people don't want heat. What they
This is
want is
true.
they want a cool, big looking dog to walk around with that might bark behind the fence.
This is true. This is true. Yeah.
So I
Absolutely.
can tell that from the responses I get on social media.
Mhm.
So anyways, this dog, she was healthy as a horse. Never had a problem with her. Never, we did, the annual vaccine.
Mhm.
That's it.
Right.
She has 1 litter. Okay, no problems.
Right.
She has the 2nd litter. She's already pregnant. So there's nothing I can do about it. And I get a phone call from one of my clients, and the dog has seizure.
Mhm. Mm.
Okay, 1 dog. It does happen sometimes.
Mhm.
She gives birth. It's about 6 months, and I get a phone call from another client. Another one of her sons has seizure, and I'm like, oh no.
Yeah. Now you like, oh my God. Yeah.
Now this is genetic.
Right. Yeah.
At the same time, talking to a friend of mine in Europe, he is a beautiful male. This dog was like he looked like he was sculpted.
Mhm.
He's related to my female.
Mhm.
I find out that in one of his litters, 4 out of 8 males have seizure, and I'm like, I was just stunned.
Yeah.
I was like, man, and the thing is that the female I kept from litter A, from that combination of that female and a male that I used for stud, that dog, I had phone calls from Spain about that dog, or messages. I dated myself, phone calls. DMs.
Yeah.
I dated myself.
Yeah.
DMs. Next thing I'm going to say VHS.
Oh yeah.
But, and to this day, man, I look at her, I'm like, man, she doesn't look real. She doesn't look real. But I know now that I cannot breed her.
Yeah.
I mean, I spoke to Michael about it. I spoke to a number of people. People like I get half and half, but I'm like, I'm not taking the chance.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah.
No, I'm not taking the chance. But
Right.
I'm going to tell you something. I know for a fact that the two dogs, the two dogs that had this problem that created these litters, to this day in Europe, they were using the dogs that they
They still
created.
breeding. Yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know it. I know how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Still breeding.
So,
Everybody,
um,
a lot of people probably got those lines in
oh
America.
yeah.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like I had a friend who had a female that was the sister of my female.
Mhm.
And he had 4 litters with her, 3 litters, and he never had a problem. But
Mm.
that doesn't mean that her sons or her daughters cannot have that problem.
That's right. Yeah.
Because she comes from the same parent, just a different litter.
Right. Right.
So that's how it goes. And,
Mhm.
most people are so blinded by when something is good that
Mhm.
they refuse to walk away from it.
Right.
But you can't do that.
Right.
You can't do that because, like, if you don't know and it happens, it happens. Nobody has a crystal ball,
Mhm.
right? But if you know that your dog is a possible carrier, or if it never happened with her, it never happened with female, but the two of them together created this, and you still breed, then to me, you're like just the lowest of the low.
That's right. That's right.
Because not only are you putting the situation where people can create can experience this,
Mhm.
but sometimes when a dog wakes up from a seizure, he doesn't know who you are,
Right.
and you don't want a Presa not knowing who you are, because you might end up in the hospital.
It's nothing. Yeah. If he gets, oh man, that'll be tragic.
You
What
know,
if it's one of your children around too?
and
That'd
what
be,
if it's a kid?
yeah, man.
You know?
Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah. Yeah, but these
So
are the things people got to know about, Alex. They have to
yes,
know
and
about.
people don't talk about them.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's very important to talk about it, because it's not all counting money and sunshine. There's a lot of things that go into this,
Yeah.
and there's other things that we're going to discuss, but sometimes you pay the price for what other people did,
You do. Yeah.
and sometimes it's 3 or 4 generations.
Yeah. And they may even know about the problem, but when
Yeah.
it's money motivated, they'll pass it on. They don't. Oh, it wasn't me. I didn't know.
Well, the
They'll.
attitude is very simple.
Uh-huh.
They're in Europe. They're on a different continent. If
Yeah. They're
I'm
not.
in Canada, you're in the States. Like, if you truly piss me off, I will drive down to
Yeah.
the US if I have to.
Right. Right.
But they know you're not gonna get on the plane.
You can't get.
They know also you're not gonna turn around and sue them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when I hear people buying dogs with health warranties from Europe, like, are you crazy? What health warranty, man? You have a mental health problem or something? Read
Right.
the warranty. The warranty says that the dog will be replaced if the dog has life-threatening, life-altering hip dysplasia. Basically, it's not like if you do, and if it's only if it's shown with OFA, meaning it's not going to be excellent, good. It's going to be like poor. They
Severe.
don't even cover it. It's going to be like
Right.
the one that's right.
Yeah.
I don't remember all the off the top of my head, but like severe.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
then the dog will be replaced when the original dog is returned, and the buyer will pay money for the shipping of the new dog.
Right.
So you're gonna ship a dog that's a year old back to Europe. Okay,
Back.
that's $1,500.
Uh-huh.
You're gonna ship the new dog. That's another $1,000, and then you're gonna have to pay for the OFA and everything. Well, you know, $4,000. I might as well just go and buy a new.
Right. And, that's the thing too. Or if an issue happens like that with a breeder, do you really want to go back and get a replacement from them if that happened?
Yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
And
but I'm gonna tell you something. So my original attitude with the warranties, because I read these warranties, right? And like, so in Europe, they don't care because you're not going to sue them. Okay. But I read these warranties here, North America. I'm reading this warranty, and this is common, that you have to return the dog, that it has to be proven that the hip dysplasia is, and they'll give you a rating, let's say severe.
Right.
Not fair, not poor, but it has to be whatever they put on there, or for pen hip will be like the, I guess, percentile or whatever. But you know, and that the dog has to be returned at your expense, which even for, you know, the United States is one country, but it's one big country. You still have to maybe ship the dog, and that the new dog that's given to you, it has to be at your expense to pick up the dog, and that the new dog is not of any, it doesn't come with any warranty. This is something else you'll see, that the replacement dog doesn't come with any warranty.
Yeah, this is it.
This is it.
Right. Yep.
Okay. And I said to myself, wow, this is so stupid. Like, I'm not going to bother selling the dog with any warranty, because to me, this is like a ripoff. But later on, I had an issue with someone, and a lawyer explained something to me. A friend of mine who's a lawyer explained something to me. He said, the warranty, the limited warranty, is not there for the buyer. It's there for you. And I said, for me? Go, what do I need the warranty for? And this is what he said to me. He goes, I take you to small claims court. The judge is an anti-breeder. And this movement of anti-breeding, adopt, don't shop, is very big right now.
Very big.
They show the dog. They say, blah, 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 blah. And the judge says, okay, $18,000. That's it. And you're done. But if you sell the dog with a limited warranty, then the action that the person can take is limited to that warranty and nothing else. So you're actually protecting yourself, because you sell somebody. I don't know if you ever had that situation, because I don't think it snows where you live.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, does it snow? Yeah.
Oh, really? It's.
Oh my God!
I thought you were in Texas.
No, sir. No, sir. I'm in the middle. I'm what I call the middle South. I'm right off. I'm right off. Close to Missouri, the Midwest.
Oh, sorry. So your cousin
I'm
is
in
Texas.
Arkansas,
Okay.
but I'm real close to the Midwest.
So it snows. So have you ever had a situation where you sold somebody a dog, and then you see the dog, and you see a little kid behind it on a sled, and the dog is pulling a sled?
Yeah, I have seen that. Yeah.
It's like, okay, now I'm going to take a screenshot. I'm going to put it in your file, because your warranty says that 70% of hip dysplasia is environmental, and that the dog is not to be neutered until it's 2 years old, because it has to, solidify the hormone. You are not allowed to feed the dog any food that's higher than 26% protein content.
Right.
I must be able to see the rib definition on the dog, That's the definition of underweight, overweight. I need to see the intent, the indentation, or the when the stomach goes in.
Right.
Dog is not ripped. I'm not seeing all the ribs, but at least the ribs should be seen a little bit.
Exactly. Yeah.
The dog is not to be placed on, weight pulling. The dog is 8 months old pulling the child. Are you crazy?
That's bad. Yeah.
So understand that even though you may look at it as a customer, for the customer's eyes, and say that, well, these warranties, it's just pointless. It's not pointless. It's there to protect you. When a person who has an 8-month-old Corso, Presa, Boxer, whatever you breed, pulling a sled, comes to you 2 months later and says, the dog is limping on the one leg. Here's the x-ray. The veterinarian says, oh, the dog has bilateral hip dysplasia. Well, if you go on Google, it says 70% of hip dysplasia is environmental. And if it's bilateral, unilateral, meaning one side, it's
Right.
pretty much guaranteed environmental. Something happened.
Yeah.
So now you have a warranty, and it excludes unilateral hip dysplasia of any kind. And now, they can't play the game. But if you don't have that warranty, they go to the court. Oh, your owner, the dog has hip dysplasia. Do you have warranty? No, but the dog was advertised as a purebred dog.
Mm-hmm.
And in the States, they have a specific law where you have, even if you buy something without warranty, if the product was advertised as a professional product,
Mm-hmm.
like with papers, blah, 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 you have the reasonable expectation that the product will perform at a certain degree.
Right.
And I had a reasonable, now what are you going to do? You're going to pay your money. You're going to pay money to the veterinarian to come to court on your behalf and explain to the judge that unilateral hip dysplasia is usually caused by the client. If the judge is an anti-breeder, he doesn't care. There's politics involved.
That's right.
So for those of you who are getting into this, make sure you have some kind of a warranty paper for yourself to protect yourself in case you sell the dog to these type of people.
Right. Right. You've been in, and so I know you've seen a bunch of people come and go. What do you think are the reasons that people quit within 5 years?
Yeah, the average breeder quits within 5 years. It's because, like, if you look at what happened to me with the seizure disorder, right? So what happened for me, like at that point, I had 3 females. One of them, she ended up spaying herself because she tore her uterus. And she's the one who created that litter of the 2 seizure disorders. So that's gone. But her daughter, I won't breed. And then I have my Hungarian female who had later on litter C. And right now there's 2 people in this province who have females from them that are interested in breeding her, but I have the breeding rights.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, it's not an issue. But the thing is, people. So you cannot, like people say, don't lend money you cannot afford to lose.
Mm-hmm.
Don't put money into the kennel or into this. This isn't a business venture. Mm-hmm. So don't put money into this thinking you're going to get back 30 grand.
Yeah.
That's what I can say. Once you have, at a certain point, you have an X amount of dogs, or you have 2 or 3, but you have, we'll discuss line breeding and versus scatter yard breeding and so on. Mm-hmm. Once you have this, you can start saying to yourself, okay, maybe this will come, some money will come this year, but you should never count on it.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
But not on the beginning. So what happens is a lot of people, they make that calculation, 12 puppies times 2 grand, $24,000. Okay, I'll cover half my expenses in my first litter. boom, I'm good. No, it doesn't work that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I just have 2 females that are gone now out of the program, but I'm okay because this isn't my business. This isn't my job. I don't need this.
Right.
I mean, you have to be insane to do this because you have to be crazy.
Yeah, you gotta be a little crazy because you give up your time, and then two, I want to clarify something that I always you're a former law enforcement. I'm always telling young breeders like offline, you know what I'm saying, man, hey, look, you cannot depend on these dogs to be your bread and butter. But
No.
it does at a certain point, the dogs will have to you will have to make money so you can take care of the dogs once you accumulate. One of the
Yes.
biggest mistakes I see, Alex, is it's a rookie mistake, especially if they got a lot of money. They'll load up on dogs. They'll
Yeah.
just load up on dogs. I was like, that's even a mess up. That's a very dangerous thing to do. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It's very dangerous, and that's not the way things work. And you have to, like, basically kind of sit down and say to yourself, can I afford $500 a month?
exactly.
Like, if you do, you know, I do Brazilian jiu-jitsu. My gym membership is $100 because I live out in the country. If it would be, you know, a big city like New York, then it would be like 200 a month. And then, you know, you go there, you drive, everything else. By the time you buy your gear, you go to 4 competitions a year. It's basically 400 a month. It's a hobby.
Right.
So, you know, 2 dogs, 2 females, let's say, are going to cost you with food and everything, basic vet visits, with no pet insurance or anything, just the basics. You know, they're going to cost you, you know, $300 a month,
Mm-hmm.
$3,600 a year. Okay, cool. That's your hobby. Do you
Right.
ask fishing to make you money? Do you ask ice fishing to make you money? Do you ask hunting to make you money? Do you ask when you buy a off-road vehicle for 30 grand and you beat the living crap out of it and you sell it for 15,000 4 years later, or you buy a boat or a skid or a cedar, are you expecting to make money? No. Then don't expect this to make you money.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
You
Right.
can be, that doesn't mean don't be professional about it. Like, there's people out there who have, you know, they build boats, that's their hobby, they have a Hardy, man, they can fix it, they can build it, they can do all kinds of things, you know, just like you should know puppy care and mother care and these things, of course, but they don't expect necessarily their motorcycle, whatever hobby they have, to make money.
Right. Right.
So don't try to make money. And the other thing is this, you know, 70% of businesses, like, I think, fail within the first 5 years. That's the thing. You have money, you're going to go load up on dogs. Okay. And then what? You're going to sell them where? Nobody knows who you are. You don't have anything unique about you. You don't have a brand. Where are you going to sell these dogs? You can sell
Right.
them when the market is hot. Yeah, you can sell them when the market is hot. But, you know, what if there's a downturn in the economy? Like right now, we live in some funky times.
Yeah, it's crazy.
There's some strange things going on, you know. I don't want to get into politics on the show, but, man,
Yeah.
things can go up really, really good, or things can end up real
Really bad. Yeah, we at the crossroads right now.
Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially here in Canada.
Mhm.
We are a lot worse off than the United States. And the United States, and for example, I've had dogs go to the US. I've had literally 4 people message me in the past 6 weeks asking, you know, can I have a puppy from the States? And US people pay US prices.
Mhm.
You know, and we have good exchange rate. It's like I make 50% more.
Right.
All right, like a presa, it will go for average presa will go for about 3,000 US.
Yeah.
So but that's like 4,500 Canadian.
Yeah.
Well, your government just passed a law I think about a year ago. You cannot ship dog into United States if the dog is under 6 months old.
Yep.
There it
Yep.
is. How many people you have in United States? 380 million people
Yeah,
live in
about three. Yeah, about
there.
yeah.
There is 380 million people gone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then it's getting harder and harder to ship dogs anywhere or even bring dogs in.
Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah, it is. Yep. Yep. So yeah, it's so many variables in this game that you have to think about because once you make a one mistake, you have to pivot. You have to be willing to pivot because if you
Yeah.
load up on dogs, you better start pivoting, figure out how you're gonna do it because they don't move like a lot of people think they're moving right now because of money. Money is tight. You know what I mean?
Money is tight for everybody. People can't afford McDonald's.
Right, right. So, but it was a time, you know, especially in other breeds like Frenchies, and they were selling dogs for 10 grand, 7 grand, and
I know people
Mhm.
for before COVID, an average Frenchie was about 4,000.
Wow, yeah,
I can go right now on any dog, any buy and sell type of a website, and I'll find Frenchies for 1,000.
yep. People giving them
For
away right now.
$1,000 for a Frenchie.
Right, right.
And
Yeah.
I see because I watch what breeders do. They'll have a breed, they'll have a litter. First pick, 3,500. First pick gone. And then now the dogs are X amount old. And you know, the dog is they're giving the dog away for free.
Yeah, yeah,
Because before you were able to sell the whole litter, but things are different now. So, you know, my advice to you is this: if you love this, then just keep what you would if it wasn't even if breeding wouldn't even be a factor.
hmm
Because then it's not an issue if you're spending $300 or $400 a month from dog food and the occasional vet visit.
hmm
You're not planning anything here. You know what I mean? Just like, you know, you buy a motorcycle, you know, you got a good deal on it. You're going to fix it up a little bit. You know, you may have a plan where in 2 years you can actually sell this for the same amount of money you bought it for. Well, you know, not if you wipe out. So, you know, don't make those type of plans when things are very unpredictable.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anytime you're dealing with anything living, like livestock, any farmer, anybody deal with any kind of animals, yeah, you cannot, you know, foresee exactly uh what your projection is going to be because anything can happen. Like
No,
you,
in my
yeah,
listen, in my garden, I have 600 garlics right now, 600 cloves of garlics, which will produce me 600 garlics. But if I get an early spring in February of 15 Celsius, and then a very, very big frost for 3 weeks, that whole garlic is dead. It
that's right,
happens all the time. This is nature.
right, right.
Cow, dog, horse, plant, doesn't matter, soybean, whatever. Frost comes, this comes, that comes. And now, you know, there's more and more like I hear people's dogs are not getting pregnant. And I know you've done some podcasts on, I think you just had a veterinarian on, some holistic veterinarian.
She will be on, yeah.
I haven't watched it yet, but there's so many issues now with these dogs that are not getting pregnant. And, you know, like a lot of the stuff that they put in the dog food, it's the
That's it.
lowest quality. The
hmm
chicken is not going to be pasture raised. It's going to be like the lowest quality. People are giving the liver treats and this and that. Well, the liver is used to take out the chemicals out of the body. God
hmm
only knows what's in there. You
hmm
know, I think you had a bully breeder on that briefly touched upon this, but
Right.
like, you know, I always ask people, I'm like, well, you know, my dog, you know, my dog can get pregnant, but like, I don't know, what are you feeding? You know,
Yep.
what are you doing? Because the quality of the food is becoming lower and lower. So that's the other thing is I literally know somebody in the States, and again, he's starting out, very nice person. He had one litter. All the puppies died because she got mastitis, but he didn't know what mastitis was until he called me. I'm like, no, man, we got to pull all the puppies away, blah, blah, blah. But it was already too late. And then the past 2 times, she never got pregnant. Now it's okay. But like, again, you get these people, they're like, yeah, I'll buy this female for $4,000 and I'll make money with her. Yeah. No, it doesn't work that way.
Right.
It doesn't work that way, man. I try to discourage people from people like, don't do it, man. Just
right. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. Breeding isn't anything I encourage people to do, because it's some variables that you lose a lot of time, especially if you live like we kind of do. I don't have family around me. If I wanted to go to take a vacation for a long time, I can't do it. You know what I mean? You're dealing with dominant breed dogs. People, they don't want to come fooling with those dogs.
No, you can't hire anybody. And that's the other thing is like, you have to, when you do this, if you're going to do this, you got to make sure that if you're not living by yourself, you got to make sure your spouse is on board.
Yes.
Because if your spouse is not on board, like, eventually it's going to, sink in that like going for a vacation is going to be difficult.
Right.
Or that you have this dog and like, you got to like secure everybody when there's a barbecue, because this isn't exactly the type of a breed where Uncle Bob is going to come by and put, his 12-year-old nephew in a headlock and the dogs don't even know him.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, I had a big compliment recently. I had a client from Litter C tell me, he's like, yeah, like before we got the dog, if the wifey was in the kitchen, she was like bending over, I slap her on the ass. I can't do that now.
Right.
If I come up with a wifey and I slap her on the ass when she's bending over, the dog gets between me and her.
Yep. Yeah, that's genetic. True. Yeah.
And it should. That's what you paid for. But like,
right.
Like imagine, you have a kid and some, your brother-in-law, whatever, that hasn't been to the house, come over, for the first time in 6 months. And he's like, oh, I'm going to put you in a headlock,
Right. Yes.
Uncle Bob is going to be going to the hospital with his arm missing. And it's going to be the dog's fault. No, it's not the dog's fault. You paid money for those genetics. You wanted a dog out of the box.
You did.
This isn't a Dutch or a Mal with some stupid prey drive, like I don't mean as an insult, but like crazy high prey drive that we then foster into defense drive. This dog is programmed for this. These are not like I'm not saying you can't do sport with them, like you can do sport protection work with them, but they are predisposed for this type of behavior. They're very territorial. They tolerate strangers outside of the house with the right amount of desensitization.
Mm-hmm.
And I have the service dog letter because of the PTSD. So my dogs go with me everywhere.
Right.
But I tell people, I'm like, you want to see the dog? I said, you're going to come to the grocery store in town and you're going to see me. I go, don't talk to me. Don't talk to the dog. You can walk into the grocery store with me. You're going to see the dog at the grocery store. Then I'll start driving home. 4 minutes later, get into your car and follow me to the house. And I'm going to put the dog in the yard. I have a sally port in my yard. So when you come in, there's a fence around you. You know how they have in prisons or in hospitals, like the double doors?
Yeah.
That's how I have it. I have 3 doors.
Oh, wow.
And I keep them completely separate. And I tell them, okay, now you're going to come. And I said, you just text me on the phone and you just come into the yard. Mm-hmm. And they see that dog that was just in the grocery store, perfectly normal, trying to break the fence to get to them.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And I said, this is genetic.
Mm-hmm.
This dog will not accept you being inside my house, inside the yard. You have come here unannounced.
Right. And they know. They
But
know.
the grocery store, they are okay.
Right.
Doesn't
Exactly.
mean you can come up to me and punch me in the head, but they are okay at the grocery store. But
Right.
not when you just show up.
Yeah. Yeah. You talk about genetics. Um, how do you breed? What's your breeding philosophy?
Um, so because of what happened, I had to kind of um let go of what originally, when this thing happened to me with this seizure, I had 17,000 followers on Instagram.
Mhm.
And I was getting sometimes likes of like over 500 per picture, which is
Wow.
very high in this breed.
Yeah.
It was real. It was not a pot for, you know what I mean? And then when the seizure thing happened, I stopped posting for a while. The algorithm kicked me off. It's like my page doesn't exist anymore.
Hmm.
So, that's the other thing is like the marketing and whether you're able to push the dogs. But I got into more. My philosophy is for the breeding. What I look for is what I just told you. I want a
Right.
dog stable enough
Hmm.
where I can take the dog out to the grocery store with the right amount of training. I want a dog that's just a little bit hot. I want a dog where if I put them in the car at 4 months old and you're walking by the car and you start staring in the car, that I want to hear a little growl.
Right.
Just a little. I don't want to have a little, I don't want to have a psycho on my hands. The dog is trying to
Yeah.
kill everything in sight,
Uh-huh.
but just a little growl.
Yep.
And then I will turn around, and people don't understand the concept of socialization. Socialization is desensitization.
Hmm.
You desensitize the dog that there's people around. That doesn't mean turn your dog into a cookie whore.
Right.
No, not everybody's your friend. You don't need to go up and be petted by everyone. For me, it's easy because when I have the service dog vest, people are respectful. I don't have
Right.
those problems where you have these bozos coming up, leaning over the dog, you know, covering their eyes. Hi. Like,
Yeah.
get away from my dog, man. But because of this, so I will take that, I will curb it down a little bit through desensitizing the dog. And
Mhm.
then when the dog is on my property, I want the dog to behave in a certain way. And that's my ideal thing. That's what I'm going for.
Mhm. Mhm.
Right. And in regards to drives, what I like in the Presa is a dog with not super high prey drive. I
Mhm.
don't want a dog where a leaf blows by and the dog is
Yeah.
shaking like a crackhead. You know what I mean?
Right.
I
Right.
don't need that.
Yeah.
And I don't need, like, I know some people, they do the wild boar hunting and they have these dogs. They usually have a very specific type of a body type.
Mhm.
And these dogs have to be in a kennel, and you see the dog running, jumping all over the place. And those dogs don't stop. It's not that they're abused and they're under exercised.
Mhm.
They have that mentality,
Right.
that
Mhm.
drive.
Right.
Okay, that's great. Um, but the kennel, the dog is not supposed to guard the kennel. The dog is supposed to be inside the house.
Mhm. That's true. Yeah. Good
And
point.
also, if you have a property like out in the country and you have a barn and you have a generator and you have a tractor, the dog shouldn't be in a kennel. The dog should be able to travel around the yard,
Right.
not have such you know high strong personality that the dog is chewing everything all over the place and it needs 3-4 hours of exercise per day. Then if you're going to have that, why don't you just buy a husky or a dutchie? You can exercise the dog for 4 hours, the dog will want more.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So for me, like, I want a dog that has mid or a little bit lower prey drive. I don't need
Uh-huh.
anything crazy, but I want a dog that I'm not going to even use the words high defense drive, because I don't work with decoys. I'm very much, and for those of you who are watching who may be new, go down the channel here and look for the free podcasts. I think the gentleman's nickname was Gypsy.
Oh, Gypsy Stratton, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mr. Gypsy Stratton. My goodness, if that man would be alive, I would pay big money to spend a few days with him.
Yeah, yeah.
What a
Gypsy,
wealth of knowledge, and what a wealth of a true knowledge of the, as he calls it, the church lady dog, the people's dog, you know, because you know, not everybody who purchases a dog has $15,000 to $20,000 to go work for a decoy. To go work with decoy to bring it out of the dog. The dog should be pre-packaged. But so that's why I don't like using that word too much, the defense drive, because that's something they put the dog in defense. But what I really what I really want, of course, defense drive, but I want the territorial behavior where the dog will just not accept a stranger on the property.
Right. Right.
And I expect to hear that dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I want to be woken up if something is happening. It's like nobody has to knock on my door. The moment the Amazon driver stops on my driveway, before the guy even makes a noise opening the door, my dogs know. I don't even know. They're sleeping. They're next thing you know, they're flying off the couch. I'm like, I'm having a heart attack. I'm like, what the hell is going on? You know, I see, the Amazon driver is there.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
Or my
that's what I like. That's what I like. A dog that's on it, dog on it.
Yeah, I have a solid wooden fence, 6 feet tall, pressure treated fence, the standard fence. And there'll be somebody, like, I live out in the country, but people out here do walk, you know, on the street here, just like a 5K walk type of thing. And somebody will be walking towards my house from each side. They'll be 100 meters away. And I hear the dog in the yard. I look out the window and I see the dog, you know, the dog is pointing this way. I look, there's a person 175, 50 meters away. I'm like, how do you know? You can't even see through the fence.
Right.
You know, the wood is together. Like, there's a little space. I'm like, how do you know? But they know. And for me, that's perfect, because I'll tell you, you know, I told you I worked in law enforcement, and I had conversations with criminals, including those who break and enter.
Right.
And I'll tell you, 99% of people who hear a dog, especially the one that sounds like a Corso or Presa, they're done.
Yeah, it's
Your
a
house
deterrent.
is no longer a target.
Yep.
The only time you have to worry, and that's when you might have to want to work with a decoy who is skilled in personal protection, not sports-based protection. And that's, I said, to watch those free beginning interviews that you had with Mr. Gypsy, is if you are like a jeweler, somebody who can be specifically targeted, okay, or, you know, some people, they're into illegal things. Somebody who can be specifically targeted. You have a jewelry store, you're going to get followed home because they think you have something home. But now you're not dealing with break and enter. You're dealing with a pre-planned home invasion, where they're not. Right now in Canada, we have a huge problem. They drive around. They see if they have, you have a Mercedes, nice car, in driveway, and they'll just come in, 3-4 guys, kick your door in. They just want the car keys. Okay? They just want the car keys. That's different. But they don't want to deal with a dog.
Right.
They see a Presa in the window, like, you won't come on my driveway, like I said. So if something like that would happen, they wouldn't come in. But the only way people will actually come into your house, if it's a pre-planned thing where they're targeting you.
Right.
Because they know You know, and in that case, they're gonna be armed with bear spray and guns, and they're gonna shoot you and the dog
Yeah.
probably. I mean, they're gonna shoot the dog and maybe you probably too, unless you're gonna get tortured or whatever. So it's a different story.
Mm-hmm.
But for your average break and enter, especially in a home invasion type of a scenario where they just want, you know, grab random car keys from random houses, as long as the car is worth over 100 grand, that's all they care about.
Right.
You don't have to worry about that if you have a dog like a Corso or Presa that's trained and encouraged to alert. Of course, I encourage the dogs to bark.
Right.
No,
Right.
it's annoying sometimes,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I encourage it.
Yeah. But I like the balance when they shut it down. And if them dogs getting up, you know something's going on.
Yeah,
And it's things you can tell by the bark as well. Like, oh,
yeah,
I better get out there, see what's going on. You
yeah.
know what I
So
mean?
that's the thing, you know, like I don't want a dog that's spazzing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I want to. If my dog barks, it means something.
Right, right. Yeah.
You know.
So how important is it for, especially in your breed, for guys to get mentorship from people like you that experience things, know the breed? How important is that?
Well, the first thing I want to do is I want to take a moment to thank you for starting this podcast,
Oh man, I appreciate it. Yeah.
and thank you for having guests on that are not shitting on other breeders,
Mhm.
pardon the language, but are
Yeah,
actually
it's all right.
talking about the things that people don't want to talk about,
Right.
and are and such as you know, Michael Morales or the man from Sentinel Kennels or your cousin or the chicken breeder. They're talking about the genetics and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I hope that eventually one day you'll do an interview with somebody who truly, truly knows how to do the gene mapping with
Okay.
the embark for breeders. Because
Okay.
there's
Yeah.
embark for pets and embark for breeders, and now apparently there's ways to really read that. Um,
Okay.
that's it's yeah, it's I've watched some of the videos, but oh man, it's dry.
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
it's a little
Yeah.
dry, but
Right. Yeah.
you know what I would say is number one, watch these type of podcasts. Actually, just watch your podcast. That's what I would say to the people who are just starting up and looking for mentorship.
Right.
And here's the problem with mentorship: when you know something, okay, when you know something, like I've been doing Brazilian Jiu Jitsu for like 12, just a little bit over 10 years, 10, 11 years now. I can walk into the gym and I can tell what kind of a gym it is. If it's a self-defense oriented gym, if it's a sports oriented gym, if it's they have the curriculum all over the place type of a gym, I can tell from a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
But because I know something about this. The thing is, if you know nothing, how do you know that the mentor is not an idiot just selling program?
Good point. Good point. Yeah.
Like you know, when I was working in law enforcement, you know, people say to me, "Oh, my lawyer got me a good deal. You know, I'm only gonna do 5 years."
Mm-hmm.
How do you know you got a good deal? Are you a lawyer? How do you know the other lawyer would not get you 3 years?
Right.
You don't know anything.
Mm-hmm.
So just be careful with this like move mentoring, and you would be probably better off watching your podcast, learning from other people's mistakes,
Mm-hmm.
learning about listening to especially people like Michael Morales and the gentleman from Sentinel Kennels,
Mm-hmm.
looking at how they do things,
Yeah.
and then finding people who
Yeah.
do it that way.
Yeah.
Like if I would be saying to myself, I'm going to get into Corsos. Okay, let's say I'm going to get into Cane Corso.
Mm-hmm.
I would turn around and I would approach you or your cousin because I've
Right.
listened to the podcast.
Right.
So
Right.
I can tell, even though it's a different breed, you know.
Right.
But the
But
thing is, I can
I'm
judge
still
because
learning, but I know guys who know. So, but I want to expound on something that you were saying. Mentorship is a dangerous thing for the if you hook up with the wrong guys, because
Yeah.
mentorship is a new hustle as
Mm-hmm.
well. You know what I mean? So yeah, I wanted to put a disclaimer on that. You know what I mean? So yeah, and
Yeah,
that's kind of
that's exactly what it is.
it.
Mentorship is the new hustle.
Yep.
And if you're looking for mentorship, it means you're looking to add knowledge, which means you're lacking knowledge. So the problem is, how do you correctly choose a mentor in and let me put it this way, in an industry that is unregulated.
Bingo.
Unregulated. There we go. So let's put it, let's make an example for young people like this. You are going to become a plumber. You're a plumber apprentice. You are a plumber apprentice under a licensed plumber who had to get that certificate to be a licensed plumber in a controlled fashion.
Mm-hmm.
That's why it's an apprenticeship. It's been set up for hundreds of years. That
Exactly.
this is okay. Breeding in Canada and the United States is not a controlled trade.
Right.
A real estate agent is a controlled trade. You go work for a broker. A paralegal is a controlled trade. A lawyer is a controlled trade. There is an association of lawyers. In Europe, they have, just as like we have game wardens here, like park ranger or whatever you call in the States.
Mm-hmm.
You can just go hunting like an idiot and kill a mother when it's pregnant and stuff like this.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So in Europe, they have very strict standards. Your dogs, you had a breeder from German Shepherd. He spoke about this.
Alexander Gunter.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have OFA.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Which is not end all and be all. I'm much more, actually, for me, I'm much more interested in preliminary x-rays of hips and elbows.
Right. Okay.
I want to see what's happening at 6 months, because I'm not going to baby the dog.
Right.
I'm not going to sit here and leash walk the dog. The dog wants to jump all over the place. If the x-rays are good at 6 or 8 months old,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some unilateral, one hip worse than the other, that's not genetic. That's just from the dog being a dog.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to see what's happening early on. And then in Europe, you have to take them to a show, which that I don't agree with. But what I would like to see is also a mandatory embark. But but this is not regulated.
Right. Uh-huh.
This is not regulated.
Yeah.
So if it's not regulated, and now I'm going to call some guy and ask for mentorship. Okay. But what is he going to tell me?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Right.
And the other problem with the dogs, and this is where we get into really like what some of your guests have been talking about, is this. You bought a dog from here, and the x-rays of hips and elbows are good, and embark is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this is what people always tell you. The basics are x-rays of hips and elbows and embark. Okay, great. You buy a dog from here, and x-rays of hips and elbows are okay, and embark is good. And you see a pedigree over here and a pedigree over here. This breeder did the same thing. He bought a dog from somewhere, from x-rays of hips and elbows, the parents.
Mm-hmm.
That's great. There's a name for that. It's called scatter yard, from a scatter yard, from a scatter yard.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah.
And yes, you have decreased the chances of a disaster because the parents are x-rayed. But here is the thing. That's not line breeding. That's not inbreeding. That's not locking genetics.
Mm-hmm.
That's one. And two, this is what people don't understand. Oh, the dog is European champion. It's great. And he won this many trophies.
Right.
Great. Here is my question. Did you ask what the other puppies from the litter look like? And did you ask what the other puppies from the litter that the mother and the father and the grandfather want? Because sometimes what happens is you have a fluke.
Yeah.
You have this amazing dog, and that's all he is.
Right.
But
Right.
everything else is just average. So there's a lot of things here that are left to chance. There's a lot of things that are left to chance. So mentorship, they're going to give you advice. Well, I just on your podcast, you're going to get a lot of the advice that you need. Don't do this.
Right. Yeah.
There is no money in it.
Yeah.
Make sure it's your hobby, and you would have 2 or 3 dogs anyways.
Right.
Eventually, the dogs have to start supporting themselves if you're going to start doing this.
Hey, that's another point. It is a stage where you have to breed to take care of the dogs, because you got one thing that alarms me, if I hear a breeder says, I don't do this for the money, but you count as dogs, man, you got 15 dogs. How are you going to take care of them?
Yes, of course.
You have to make money. It does become a business at some point, because the dogs, you have to take care of the dogs financially. Yeah.
So the other point I would make in regards to this mentorship is, if you're going to buy the dogs, go beyond and above just scatter yard breeding.
Yes.
And this guy bought a dog from here. This dog is like, you'll literally look at the dogs, and you see 5 generations, and every dog is different. Not even one dog has been line bred. Look, these breeders have gotten rid of probably 30 or 40 dogs to win that one trophy, or to place the dog for champion or whatever, the dog get champion or whatever. But it doesn't mean there's consistency.
That's right.
So I'll tell you, nothing will beat time. I have friends in the Presa game. I've been watching them. I've been talking to them for a decade. The more I know, the less people would get a dog from.
Yeah.
The more I know, the less people I would get a dog from. Sometimes it's almost depressing.
Yeah.
Like I told you recently, I saw like a Corso breeding advertisement, and right away I look at the name. I'm not going to get into politics here, but I know from Europe that guy is not breeding that champion. That champion stopped producing semen a long time ago.
Yeah.
Don't tell me it's from that dog. Everybody knows who's in the inner circle.
Yeah.
So that guy might be meaning well, but no. So time, unfortunately, kills us. Time, unfortunately, hang on for a sec. Something weird is okay. Time, unfortunately, sucks the money, sucks the resources, but it gives us time to watch.
Yep.
And then you can gain wisdom with this. But sometimes it's too late. Like for me, it's okay, because I had this problem, a seizure disorder. I can survive. I have different, I have different source of income. I don't do this for money. For me, I can have show line dogs. I can have more like the one I have now, or I can have very aggressive Presa, because I live in the middle of nowhere.
Just right.
I can change things. I can do things, but most people can't. So, like I said, don't do this. If you're going to do it, make sure it's a hobby anyways.
Gotta be a
And you
hobby,
can
yeah.
maintain these 2 or 3 dogs
Mm-hmm.
and, watch these, these podcasts. Your podcasts, like being able to listen to these guys is gold.
I
And
appreciate it. Yeah,
remember that it's not just about embark and x-rays of hips and elbows.
that's
You
right.
got to learn about this inbreeding and line breeding, and then you got to find breeders who've had a program for 10 years
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, and
Mm-hmm.
then buy. And literally, you like, I've been watching people for a decade, and I can go approach them and purchase a line bred puppy. And the thing is, now I have a 10-year program added to my yard. Not
Exactly.
where you're starting from zero.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I would say, like, if I would be getting into courses right now, I would approach you or your cousin.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be honest. I would say, I want to bring your blood to Canada.
Mm-hmm.
If you would be making like a secondary kennel, which 2 breedings would you get 2 females from? And where would you get a male?
Right.
Maybe pick up some frozen semen. I would just lock down my yard and I would continue the program. Maybe add something later. Pick up
Right.
the phone and call first and ask. And be
Right.
honest.
Yeah.
And be
Yeah.
honest. Don't be one of these people, man, who buys a dog and then, oh yeah, I decided to breed it. First of all, did you get breeding rights?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because now you're just gonna have another unpaid
Yeah.
litter. And
Right.
then be honest, and there is more than enough information now, where you can skip some of the you don't have to have this desperate need for mentorship, but like even whelping litters, like I see people, it's like the first time you do it, you'll be overwhelmed. You don't know what's happening.
Yeah. It's
And
nerve wracking.
God
Yeah.
help you if that female doesn't produce milk. Like my first litter, I had a C-section. So my first litter was during COVID, 2020, because I got into Presas in 2016, but I had to get rid of 3 dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
The 4th one I kept.
Right.
So now what ends up happening is that it's COVID. I call. I said, listen, she's been, the temperature and everything. She's been panting, but it's been like 24 hours. Oh, yeah, we don't deal with pregnant dogs. So what you're saying, anti-breeder.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, man, sometimes you walk in, your ears are cropped. There you get the secretary giving you the look.
Yep.
Like, oh, God. Okay, no problem. So finally, I find one vet. Okay, bring her in. We do oxytocin, because the vet I was going to originally said, no, we're busy. We're booked. Like, what do you mean you're booked?
Mm-hmm.
And what ends up happening is I go, they give her the oxytocin. She gives labor. She has the labor. I have 6 puppies, but I know because I did x-rays. So that's the other thing, is a lot of people don't notice. Make sure you x-ray your female.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know somebody, their female died because they had a puppy left over. The dog went septic. But the basic things, I've never even seen a video. Maybe we should do another podcast where we just talk about whelping.
Right. Yeah.
This
We do
guy's-
need a podcast like that bad. Yeah.
Man, I've had everything. I've had C-sections. I've had torn uteruses. Let's do one.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
God.
I'll tell you right now, man, the guy's dog died.
Mm-hmm.
The dog's dog died because he had a puppy left over. I'm like, why did you not take the dog to the vet for a post-labor x-ray?
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's the other thing we have to talk about. Now, there's dangers, because if you take the dog to the vet, you can pick up Provo.
Well, yeah.
Don't take the dog to the vet, you can lose the female.
This
So you
is
got to
true.
start now taking the temperature. So the way you avoid going to the vet is, if you have a good vet, you have oxytocin.
Mm-hmm.
You take their temperature, okay? you're checking the dog consistently. See if you see the temperature rising post labor, it means the dog is going into an infection. It means something is wrong inside, because body always makes temperature during infection. If you don't see, it means everything is fine. But then guys will turn around and give the dog oxytocin to clean the dog out. That's what people call clean the dog out. Okay, but sometimes the dog doesn't have temperature because it's not going septic yet, because it's been only 24 hours. You give the dog oxytocin. If that puppy didn't come out because that puppy was bridged, you give the dog oxytocin, it's not good. It can cause tearing.
Yeah.
So there's many things to consider, including vets. I had a situation where in litter C, I had mastitis. That was the only time I ever had mastitis. And I had to go to get it's a special antibiotic. Like amoxicillin is not going to work for it. It's an antibiotic for the muscular structure infection. Right. And I told the veterinarian, and my veterinarian is a repo vet. She likes breeders. She breeds herself. So I said, can you please come out of the clinic? I don't want the dog going into the clinic. We did the appointment outside. We did the appointment outside. I'm like, don't touch the dog. I'll show you whatever you want. I can show you the breast. She had a little tear. Everything was already out. It was fine. But, again, these are all things that can happen during whelping, and people don't realize this. They don't know how much money it can, how quickly south things can go
in a minute.
And when you're not prepared for what can happen with the pregnancy. Give me a sec. I'm just going to turn my light on.
Yeah. It's getting dark there.
It's getting dark there. I don't want to.
There we go.
The quality of the podcast here.
Share the video.
There we go. That's good.
There you go. Yeah.
So, people don't realize how things can go south. So this is all very important to be prepared for everything.
Right. Yeah. You made a very good point. I have had a couple people say, well, can you do a video on whelping? And I ain't never did it. We need to probably come back, running back and do something about that.
Man, even like designing a whelping box. Like I see people putting dogs in those blue swimming pools.
In the swimming pools? Yeah.
No, please. Like the floor is too slippery. It's not good. Right. Or they understand why, when you make the box, everybody has a different thing. I like to make a new box every time. So I just go to the local home hardware and I buy 2x10. My 14. I get them to cut in half. Then I get 2x4x8. I get the foot cut off and I make the border.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't know what the border is for. And I'm like, well, your dog will squish the puppy.
Yes, right. Yeah. We call it pig railing.
Yeah, it all depends how much you want to interact with my mother. Like with the mother. You know what I mean? So like for me, I like to go in. I had females where they do everything. And I remember I was watching one podcast from you, and you were talking about this, how there's nothing better than a good bitch, a good mother. And oh man, if you have one, they're gold.
What they are.
I had females trying to kill a puppy.
I've had that too. I've actually had to put a set of puppies with another mom before, because that mom wasn't. She had to exit my program too. Yeah.
At least you didn't have to bottle feed, but I had one where I just put her in. I lay her on the side, and then I take the puppies, and I put them, because she was new. She didn't know how to arrange.
Right.
But she was great otherwise. She just was not very experienced, and she wouldn't lick them. So this is another thing that people don't know. So for those of you who are going to have your first litter, if you're bottle feeding, or if the mother is not licking, you have to hold the puppy like this, and you take your finger and you gently go like this. And when you do this, you will see they will pee themselves.
Right.
And then you continue and they will poo. Because if the mother is not licking, or if the mother died during the birth and now you're bottle feeding yourself, if you don't do this, they will not pee and poo. They will start to cry. They will be very uncomfortable, and then you can have medical problem. I'm going to tell you, if we're going to do this podcast on whelping, we're going to have like an 80-point list. Because as I talk about this, I start to remember things that I don't even remember, like this thing with rubbing their stomach.
Yeah, right.
Or
I'm
like
gonna
not
tell you.
over. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna tell you something else too. So I was bottle feeding. So you might have saw a video of me bottle feeding. That I had a breeder friend of mine got on to me. He called me. He said, "Why are you bottle feeding that dog?" He said, "I said, well, I had to put another litter on the mom. I'm just trying to help her." He's like, "No, no, 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 no." And it was a simple way he told me to fix that is because the younger puppies that I had to put on to the mom, they wasn't really gaining. So he was like, take the bigger puppies out, let the mom get a little time to rest to build the milk up. And it worked.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I wouldn't have to do all that bottle feeding. I was giving them up because I was just putting too much on her and she couldn't produce. I wasn't giving her enough time to reproduce milk and not thinking about it. And then there's other things too, that, as breeders, we got to help each other. We got to remind each other of things. Like I had somebody call me saying, man, uh, she just don't want to, she don't want to feed the puppies. Did you take care of the nails on the dogs? It's little
Mm-hmm.
things that we
And
got to help
there
each
is
other with.
there
Yeah,
is your mastitis from the
there
longer
it is.
nails. And here's
Yep.
the funny thing is, when I had my incident of mastitis, the nails were cut, and it was 3 days before I was going to pull the puppies off the mother. So
Wow.
at
Hmm.
21 days old, if you put your finger into the puppy mouth, you just start to feel the teeth. They're not
Hmm.
sharp yet. You just start to feel the teeth. That's when I pull the puppies off the mother.
Hmm.
And I go into, again, everybody has different methods. For
Right.
me, I take the blender. I take combination of formula,
Yeah.
water, and kibble, and I make
Yeah.
it into like a pudding.
Yes.
Okay,
Hmm.
some people use goat milk and raw egg. This is how I do it.
Hmm.
Um, anyways, so when she had that mastitis, it was not issue with teeth and nails. It just happened. I don't know how it happened. It just happened.
Hmm.
I don't know how, but it just happened.
Right.
Um, but here's a funny thing about bottle feeding, and this is a human injury, not a dog injury.
Hmm.
The first time I was bottle feeding a litter was the litter A. And instead of sitting on the couch or sitting on the chair, having the puppy here and having the bottle, or having the puppy like this and having the
Yeah.
bottle.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So what I would do is I would go and sit at the table, the dining room table, and I had a towel here. And I would have my Instagram on live. I would be talking to people, and I would be bottle feeding the puppy like this.
Hmm.
Well, what do you do when you are at the table and you're holding something like this? You're hunched over.
Yeah.
My thoracic, which is that upper middle spine,
Uh-huh.
locked up so badly that when I went to the chiropractor, the guy went to adjust me and he like bounced off.
Wow.
My spine literally locked up because I spent 3 weeks being hunched over like this.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
even for something as simple as bottle feeding, you got to think about how you sit. I'm a
Yep.
man. What do I know about bottle feeding? I don't have any kids.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
like a dummy, I'm like, oh, I'll take the dog and hold it like this and sit at the table. No, man.
Mhm.
By the time I got to litter B, I knew. Okay, I had everything prepared. I'm like, I had a chair, like a rocking chair that a lot of women will actually use to breastfeed.
Mhm.
And I would sit back, lean back, hold the puppy like this, and then bottle feed or like this. I was comfortable. I was okay. But man, the
Yeah.
first time I killed my spine,
Yeah.
I didn't know, you
Right.
know.
Right. Yeah.
So this is just one of the painful things that I had to,
Yeah.
you know,
As you as
that I
you
had,
as you develop into a breeder, you find the right systems to put in
yeah,
place to help you. You learn it. You never stop learning.
yeah. And that's the other thing is there's these things work on time, nature, and rhythm. So just as your household is going to change when your bitches go into heat, there's a difference between puppies first week.
Mhm.
Okay, first week, if the mother is doing a good job and she's licking them, whatever comes out of them, like little poor pee, she's gonna drink it and she's gonna eat it, and
You'll
it's
clean
nothing
it up.
disgusting. It's
Mhm.
normal. That nature designed this because as a coyote or a wolf, she would the wolf or the coyote will not be leaving the nest. So that's the other thing. You gotta let the dog eat the placenta.
Yep. That's
Let the
true.
dog eat the placenta. It's
Right.
there. If the dog eats the placenta, because
Full of
have,
nutrients.
you have water, the nutrients, and
Mhm.
even with how you design the feeding box, the whelping box. I have a heating lamp.
Mhm.
I have a warmed floor.
Mhm.
I have a humidifier, a warm mist, not cold, and I have a temperature gauge. And I play around 2 or 3 days with the height of the lamp. So I get exactly 82 and a half Fahrenheit. They say 80 to 85. I like to be at 82 and a half.
Mhm.
But the thing is, the box is big enough where that's where the puppies are for the first week.
Right.
They're not crawling around. You
Right.
got to make sure you know the temperatures because you're going to dry out the puppies.
That's right. Yep.
And then when the mother is in there, I have enough room where she can be out here. That's like a 6x6 or a 7x7. The puppies are in this corner. The mother will be here. And what I'll
Mhm.
do is if I'm putting the mother in there, I'll put her in here and I'll move the puppies. But if not, like this mother was really good, she would take the puppies because now
Mhm.
the mother's over here and the mother doesn't have 82 and a half Fahrenheit temperature on her.
That's
She's
right.
laying on the floor, and the puppies don't need the temperature light. And the reason why is because they're all huddled together.
Mhm. Mhm.
Now,
Yep.
the thing is, if you really follow nature, you don't even need the temperature gauge because if your temperature in the house or in the room is about 75, the puppies will create so much heat together
Mhm.
that they will be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to
Nobody
watch the heat.
30
Yeah.
years, 40, 50 years ago, nobody had a dehumidifier and a red light. This is something we started to do more recent.
Mhm.
I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. That's the way I do it.
Right.
But the thing is, you have to be careful because the puppies produce so much heat. If you don't have a room where the mother can be away from the light, you're going to overheat the mother. And some mothers want to be in the box. Like I've had mothers where I take them out. I'm like, I'm not leaving you in there. You'll kill something. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? You'll
Mhm.
squish something. You'll do
Mhm.
something. And then
Mhm.
like I've had this female, just like I was just in awe of her skills as a mother. Man, she would take each puppy so beautifully, so gently. It's so nice to watch when they grab the puppy so gently.
Yeah.
Place, place, lay down. All the puppies are in this beautiful line, you know.
Mhm.
But even if I'm gonna tell you, if you guys are listening to this, listen to how I just spoke. Something there was like an emotion in me. It's a
Mhm.
beautiful thing to watch nature, and when you help to create life, and you have a vision for your line. If you don't have this, don't breed because you'll just
Right.
be a money oriented piece of shit and it will come back to bite you in the ass.
It sure the
and
hell
you'll
will.
just do bad. You have
It
to
sure
have
will.
passion inside of you to do this,
Mm-hmm.
because otherwise you are crazy if you do this.
Right. And then two, um, you have to realize for you who haven't done this as of yet, all the puppies aren't going to survive every time. You know, you're going to have to deal with getting over loss, getting over traumatic events, anything. You know what I'm saying? When you, like he said, when you're dealing with livestock, anything can happen. You know what I mean? So, yeah,
What I will
yeah.
say is this: the more you breed and the more dogs you have out there,
Mm-hmm.
the more death you will see.
You sure will. Yeah.
In litter C, just this year in 2024, about a week before Christmas, a female that was already 2 years old, more than 2 years old, she decided to eat the snow from the Christmas village. You know, the people have the fake snow. They have a Christmas village for the children, like a
Oh, really?
village.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Dang it.
So she ate the Christmas village. She ate the snow.
Uh,
The
oh,
client, they take them to the emergency, and they took them to the emergency, and I don't know how much they pay. I'm going to assume Canadian price is going to be a good 6,500 to 8,500 for open, right? And the dog recovered from the surgery. Everything is fine. 48 hours, the dog died.
wow. Wow, that's crazy. That's crazy.
And that female, her mother, like this is my other female, her mother passed away too, a year before the similar date. I'm still not okay to talk
Yeah,
about it.
I know, bro. It's tough breeding. It's tough.
So the more you see this, you'll see.
Yeah,
Things.
exactly.
I had one situation where I was so exhausted from bottle feeding. I was so exhausted from bottle feeding. I fell asleep while bottle feeding,
Mm-hmm.
and the puppy backwash. The milk
Mm-hmm.
come out of the nose.
Yeah.
24 hours later, I'm at the vet's office. The little puppy needed antibiotics because the nose got infected. And then I have the big syringe. I have
Yeah.
to put the needle under the skin to give the liquid.
Yeah.
I fell asleep. I was so exhausted. The puppy lived,
Right.
but the exhaustion, man, the exhaustion. Because the thing is, like, with a child, like my female friends, don't fall asleep feeding. You can't fall asleep with the dog. I almost killed it
Right. Right.
because
Yeah.
you tilt the bottle the wrong way or you drop the thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's in a sling,
Mm-hmm.
you
Right.
know?
Right. Yeah.
Man, I'll tell you, like, the most, like, I've worked, because in law enforcement, you work rotating hours. I've done night shifts.
Mm-hmm.
The best is when you have 4 weeks off, you're doing day shifts, and then you go on night shifts for a week all of a sudden.
Right.
It kills you, man. That's why people who only do night shifts die on average 10 years earlier.
It's
It's
bad.
study.
It's
But
no good for you.
I'll
Yeah.
tell you, nothing compared to bottle feeding a litter for especially the first 2 weeks.
Right. Yeah.
Nothing. The exhaustion that I had, it was basically became like a routine.
Mm-hmm.
Bottle feed, which took about an hour, clean everything, pre-prepare, set countdown timer for 1 hour, pass out,
Do it again.
wake
Yeah.
up, do it again. And then eventually you'll get so tired, you can't fall asleep.
Right. Right. Yeah. You're a zombie. You're a zombie then. Hey,
Yeah, you can't
Alex.
fall asleep.
Yeah. Hey, Alex, I think we're gonna have to wrap this one up, but I sure want to do another show with you
Let's
here
go.
in the near future. But I want you to tell everybody how to find you. They might have questions or anything for you. Or maybe even get a
Yeah, you
dog.
can just hit it, go on Instagram, go to that search thing and just type in VACCARO, Vaccaro _Bull Presa. _ Presa. So Vaccaro Bull Presa. But the moment you type in Vaccaro, Vaccaro, you'll see the Instagram come up, and there's a little blue logo.
Yeah, for sure. All right, brother.
Do you put link in the YouTube?
I will. Yeah, I will put the link in there. Yeah,
that's cool.
I'll
there we go. Just hit me up from there.
Yeah. Okay, man. I thank you so much, bro. We're gonna look forward to having you back, and let's do some more talking.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for doing this for the dog community. You're doing a great thing.
Hey, thank you for helping the dog community, because hey, man, I'm just a student that's trying to put the right people in front of the people who really want to know, because sometimes this stuff is hard to get on Facebook and things like that. So I appreciate you. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you.
All right. See y'all next time.
And that wraps up another episode of NWA Cane Corsos. Thank you for being a part of our Cane Corso community. Remember, you can stay connected with us beyond the podcast. Find us on all major media platforms by searching for NWA Cane Corsos. Whether it's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or YouTube. Just hit that follow button to join the conversation and get the latest updates. If you have a burning question or want to apply to be a guest on our show, we'd love to hear from you. Simply shoot us an email at nwacanecorsos@gmail.com. And if you're a business interested in becoming a sponsor, reach out to us at the same email address. For more resources, exclusive content, and links to all our social media profiles, visit our website at nwacanecorsos.com. It's your go-to destination for everything dogs. Thank you once again for tuning in, and we can't wait to bring you more exciting episodes where we explore the fascinating world of dogs.